And we are live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Jason Hebert Live. If you were here last night, I do apologize. That's when this was supposed to happen at 9 p.m. last night, which is the general time that we do our interviews here on this channel. We did have some technical difficulties, which I've been having quite a few of. That was all on my end, not the guest end. So I do want to make that clear and apologize for that. I since have gotten a new router, so hopefully that doesn't happen because it was happening quite a bit. Always seem to happen at nighttime for whatever reason, which is weird because if it's a tech issue, you wouldn't think it picked a certain time or favored a certain time. But either way, that's what was going on. Hang on one second. I'm getting a call from somebody on Facebook. Can't answer that right now. I am. If you're listening, I can't answer a call. I don't know who's calling me. Okay, so tonight we have a part 2 of an interview we did previously for Cheryl Beardall. We have her sister, Jessica Knuutila. Sorry, I was saying Knuutila. It's kind of one of those names that is a little tough till you learn it. Knuutila is the way that you say it, Jessica Knuutila. It is her sister. I don't know. Some of you will have watched the first interview, of course. Some of you will have not. So the way that this is going to work, because it is a part 2, we want to make sure everybody's up to date without, of course, having to make everyone sit through every single detail if they do know the story. So we're going to have her take a few minutes to give a general update as to kind of a summary of the first interview of everything that we went over, so you know the major players and everything like that. And then we'll have her go on because the reason for this interview is she has some updates. So it's okay, Karen. That's the person who was calling me. So I'm just giving it a moment because we have about 25 people here so far. Yesterday we had a ton of people waiting. I think we're up to almost 100 people or so while we were waiting for me to come on before we had the tech issue. So because we had the tech issue, so a lot of people might not think we're doing it, as well as we're doing this 3 hours earlier than usual. And I've been having some problems with notifications. I'm not expecting too huge of a turnout right now because of all those factors, but we'll just give it a moment to see who comes on. So we're up to about 30 people. Let me load a couple pictures and then we will bring on Jessica to kind of give us some of the details and take over. Okay, CherylLynn, just bear with me. We'll start with our flyer from the Be United Missing Persons group. If you're not familiar with them, they're a group that is very friendly with us, and they do a great job helping with the cases, making flyers, things like that. So please make sure to check them out. Their links are in the description below. And as well as Jessica's information, the guest tonight. And pretty much all the relevant links will be below. Any way to contact me, any ways to support the channel, they're all in the description. Just expand it. You have to hit show all or show more, whatever the button is right under the video. And if you'd like to join the channel, there's a join button below the video as well. So I'm going to quickly read, and I'll share my screen. I'm going to quickly read an article to give you guys some very basic facts about the case. So this is from news3lv.com. Henderson police seek missing 34-year-old woman last seen in July. So this was, of course, July of 2020. This is Cheryl Beardall here. So police in the city of Henderson, Nevada, are asking for the public's help in finding a missing 34-year-old woman who was last seen in July. Authorities said Cheryl Beardall was contacted in July 2020 in Henderson. Her vehicle was recently located, but Beardall's whereabouts remain unknown. Authorities did not specify whether they believe she was in the greater Las Vegas metropolitan area. Beardall is described as 5'9", 115 pounds, with green eyes, brown hair, and Caucasian. It was unclear what prompted Thursday's alert to the community. So thank you to News3LV for that. That's just a little update. Now we're going to bring on Jessica. She's going to fill you guys in on the basics and then go into some of the updates, which are the reason for tonight's broadcast. So Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. Again, I apologize. I know you're still going through this nightmare. I would have hoped that by now it would have been over, but thank you for your strength in fighting through this for your sister. I know that she appreciates it, and you're fighting strong. And as always, you have the support of me and all my subscribers and everybody. So you're not alone. I pray that this will finally lead to some answers. But thank you for joining us tonight.
No problem. Thank you. So just a little background on what has happened. So, because of quarantine as well as, just life in general, it was kind of hard to stay in contact with some people, especially like seeing people. So, my sister, according to her boyfriend, Philip, she went missing the night of July 23rd. He claims that she went to go drive Uber or Lyft, and then never came home. And that was after they had an argument in which he and my sister sat the kids down. She's a mother of three. So there was, at the time of disappearance, there was a 14-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 3-year-old. Um, and he sat her down. They sat the kids down, and they asked the kids who they wanted to stay with, and they said him. And she seemed upset about that, and she went to go do an Uber Lyft drive, and she never came home.
And to be clear, he's the only one that is saying that story, right? That the kids chose him. That's
Uh,
all we have is his version of that, or of the kids
that'll
confirmed.
be updated in a little bit,
Okay,
so
okay.
we'll do that. So she went missing on that day, and a few of my family members lived in the same apartment complex on Center Street. I have a cousin as well as my brother who live in the same apartment complex, and they last saw her on July 19th. However, the cousin saw her in the apartment, like in her own apartment, not my sister's, but my cousin's apartment, and she claims that she had a healing black eye. And my brother, who saw her outside the same day, he didn't notice anything. So I don't know if it's just the lighting or what, but my cousin claims that she had a healing black eye. Um, and then the neighbors had seen that the kids had moved out. Philip and the kids had moved out. Shortly after that, there was a confusion of whether it was Ocean or CherylLynn, but it was Ocean that went with them. Even Philip, the boyfriend, confirmed it. So shortly after she disappeared, they moved out sometime early August, but never notified the front office. The front office, when I did my first wellness check, the police officers, well, first of all, I was notified by my cousin saying in September, saying on Facebook Messenger, saying, "Hey, I haven't seen your sister. When was the last time you seen her?" And I hadn't talked to her since June. My parents hadn't talked to her since July. But the last physical sighting on my family's part was July 19th.
Okay.
So I called the police and I asked for a wellness check. They went and they knocked on the door and no answer, so they went away. And they told me no answer. And then I called the front office and spoke to them. And the last time that they paid was for June or July. They don't know when. They weren't able to tell me like what day they actually did, or whether it was paid in person or electronic or what. So I asked them about their policies for checking, like doing wellness checks. Like, are they able to be entered? Like, would they be let in the building? And she said, yeah, all they have to do is come and ask for the key and we'll be happy to give it to them. So I called back the police and I said, I need you to do a wellness check and I need you to go to, like, if they don't answer, you have to go to the front office. They are willing to give you the key and let you in. And I made sure that my cousin was available to watch to make sure they actually entered in. And that's when they discovered that they had moved out. So there was a couple things in there. I guess they said that there was like a bag of my sister's clothes, like a small trash bag full of my sister's clothes, and the keys were on the counter. But the Facebook page of the boyfriend, which I wasn't able to see because we were not friends at the time, stated that he, like one of his buddies, found out that he and my sister broke up and took him and the youngest, the 3-year-old that's biologically his. And there was a picture of my nephew on there, but I couldn't tell if that was like a current picture or that he just posted an old picture with it, with one of the comments. And so we told the police that we don't know where the kids are, because all we know is that he and Layla, the youngest, had a place to go. So we didn't know if she had the 2 kids with her, but it would be weird that she wouldn't contact my parents. Because she even tried earlier that year to move in with my parents and leave him, but he always took Layla. So she ended up saying that she was going to work it out. So after we did the podcast, because that was kind of about where we were, we didn't want to single in on anything because we didn't want to miss anything. So I know a lot of people were trying to zoom in on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we have our own grudges against him, I guess, but we were trying, like, I didn't want my personal view of him to get in the way, and I had to, like, look at my own self to see, is it because I feel like he did something, or is it because I don't like him?
Right, exactly.
So,
you don't want something this important. You don't want that to cloud it.
Yeah, so I'm like, am I looking at it logically, or am I looking at it with my emotions? But a lot of things since then has kind of like opened it up to where he's now questionable. So before, he was cooperating. He was providing anything that the police had. Like, even the police were telling us, like, hey, like, he's cooperating. Everything that we've asked for him, he's like, yeah, no problem. He's kept the phone on. Like, the phone, he kept paying for the phone, even though it can't be located and it's turned off somewhere. He was asking me for flyers. He would to go out and put flyers up. He, I mean, he did have the post on, but he didn't leave them up on his Facebook for very long. It was like almost like an hour or so. But some things started to stick wrong with me. One of them was after we did the podcast, he text messaged me and he goes, "Oh my gosh, you did so great. I was crying, like, you did so great for your sister." And then 15 minutes later, he starts yelling at me saying that I implicated him and I was making him look bad. And
15 minutes after he said you did great?
Yeah. Okay. It like totally switched over. And so that to me was suspicious, because I'm like, okay, why would you, like, especially because I was like, a lot of people think, normally in any missing persons place, they think, oh, it's the boyfriend or the husband, or, because they're the ones closest to you, and for them not to know something, that's kind of weird. But I was like, I didn't want to focus on just one possibility, and I didn't want our relationship to cloud it. Okay. So that's one of the things that stuck out. Another is as I've talked before, I'm very analytical. So certain wordings kind of rub me the wrong way. So, for example, when we found her car, the more I thought about it, one of my aunts found out that the car was found and that it was tagged as abandoned, and she posted it on Facebook, and I got a text message from the boyfriend, and the wording of the text messages sounded weird, because he was like, "What do you mean they tagged the car? It's been moving." And I'm like, why does the car, like, how do you know the car had been moving? Like, the police told us that it had to have been moving around in August before we found out, because there was some sightings. Like, some people say, oh yeah, I've seen that car, here and there, but it, didn't stay around. So it was kind of questionable, because it's like, how do you know that her car was moving? Because none of our posts and none of our conversations said that the car was moving.
Right. So I believe they're talking about a different case, but Heather asked, is this the one that had the GPS on the car? Did she have a GPS? I think she's referring to another case.
No, she had it on her phone when she did the Uber and Lyft.
Okay, right, okay. Oh, you froze, Jessica.
Okay, are you good?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, so another problem that we had was, he said that every single time she did the Uber and Lyft, he had a GoCam that she used for her safety. But, and she's always the type of person that she double checks everything. Like, okay, I got my keys, I got my purse, I got my wallet, I got, my phone, let's go.
She had a Go camera stuck to the windshield facing?
Not stuck to the windshield, but it was one that she could bring into the car with her. But he had it.
He had it that night, so she didn't have it.
He still has it.
Oh, has that been checked?
All we have is what's on there. I don't know what the warrants have said, but yeah, he claims she never took it that night.
Okay, so the night she disappeared, coincidentally, she never takes the camera that shows you.
Yeah, but she was texting him that night. Like, according to the text messages that they've pulled off her phone records, she was texting him that night, not only saying that, you know, she's on her way home, or like that she couldn't sleep, so she went out to do drives. Technically, it says that she did a line, which indicates, because he's been indicating that she was doing drugs, which nobody can confirm on any side besides him of whose idea it was.
Mm.
However, his story of how she got addicted to drugs has changed 3 times at least.
Okay.
So that, again, is questionable, because he told me and my parents that she randomly was seeing somebody else, and that they introduced her to coke and she brought it home, and that's what the fight was about. But then he told my brother that they were experimenting and bringing people into their relationship for threesomes and stuff, and one of them got them hooked. Both of them hooked on drugs. And then he also told the CPS lady, I don't know if they were allowed to tell me, but one of the CPS ladies that came to check on the kids and the wellness of the kids, he told them that they were at a swingers party and she got addicted to drugs through that.
Okay.
So the story itself had changed 3 times, which, logically speaking, it's either not true at all, or he doesn't want to admit to what the truth is.
Right. And just to be clear, before we continue, I want to make it known that in this show, whether myself, Jessica, or anybody else, everything that we say, there are no hard accusations. Everything's alleged. So we are not accusing anyone of anything. Everything you hear is alleged. We're not, no hard accusations. I just want to make that clear for our protection. In these cases, people are just going by what they've heard. They're piecing together information, she's trying to find her sister. So I just want to get that out of the way before you continue, Jessica.
Yeah. So it's just some of that stuff was just questionable. And then another update that we have is that one of the kids has actually come forward and talked about, at least to us, because again, we're trying not to coerce them or coach them into telling us what they think they want us to hear. We want it to come from them without any prompting, because last thing we want is for them to tell us something because they think we want a certain answer,
right?
And it not be true, and we're going down all these different rabbit holes. So on one of the walks, the middle child, he told me, he goes, "I feel really guilty," and I'm like, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "Well, I feel bad that I chose him over my mom." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what made you decide to choose him?" And he says, "Well, it's the way that he said it. He said, do you want to stay with your mom where you'll be homeless on the street, living from boyfriend to boyfriend, not have a roof over your head, doing anything and everything you have to do for food? Yeah. Or do you want to live with me where you'll be a big happy family, we'll get to play video games, we'll get to do fun things together, and you'll have a roof over your head?"
Wow, that's pretty lame. It's like saying to a kid, "Do you want this box or this box?" You know,
yeah.
You don't want that. So make one sound awful, once. Wow. Okay.
Because it was very questionable. And before this, we actually found out that there was maltreatment against the kids. So there is an open case on that. And to protect the integrity of that case, we're not going to disclose specifically what type of maltreatment. But there was maltreatment, at least for the 2 oldest. CPS did get involved and contact us to talk to the kids about the youngest. They can't tell us too much, but CPS did take the youngest away from him. All they'll say is abuse and neglect. We're not the ones that made the case or reported anything, so they can't tell us anything.
Yeah, and Lisa Corinne, a couple people had asked about the kids. Can you go over one more time where each kid is now? I know it's a kind of complicated and it's changed a little.
In the beginning, it was because the 2 oldest were not biologically his. There was no adoptions or anything like that. And the questionability of whether there was foul play for the mom being missing. The 2 oldest were placed with my parents as temporary guardianship. In December, they contacted CPS actually contacted my mom to talk to the kids because somebody else reported that there was maltreatment on the youngest child, which is biologically Philip's. And so, like I said, we don't know anything about what happened to that child or if there's going to be a case open for that one. We just know that CPS took her and that they're safely with my parents. So now all 3 of them are together.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. And then, so we found out about the maltreatment. And so then it was kind of questionable. And as far as we know, most of the abuse my sister wasn't even aware of. They didn't seem to indicate that she had partaken or, knew it was going on. So, because one of the theories that somebody has come up with is maybe she found out and they got in a fight and then something happened. But as far as we know, she didn't know whether the mistreatment or abuse was happening.
So we don't, as far as we know, she wasn't aware of it.
Yeah, as far as we know, she wasn't aware. Okay. At least on the kid's part, there's still a possibility that he was abusing and hitting my sister because of the bruises that my cousin saw. And then just after talking to my cousin, she stated that the last night that she saw the boyfriend was sitting, like they came over to her house and they were hanging out with them for a bit, and my sister was pretty much glued to the boyfriend, like he would not let her leave his sight at all. So like the cousin even tried, like, hey, come in, like we want to you want to come take a look at this jewelry I have in the kitchen, try and get her away from him so she can ask about the black eye, but he wouldn't let go of her. And my cousin said that when she left the room, my cousin's own boyfriend stated that Philip was talking down to CherylLynn and really treating her horribly. Like he was really concerned after my cousin left the room and the way that he was talking to her and treating her.
Okay, so it sounds like, just to jump in real quick, when we did our first interview, you were making it a point, like you said, not to let your emotions, get the best of you and lead you away, and lead you towards him just because you didn't like him in general, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you were kind of keeping all options open, but because of some of the revelations that the kids have come forward with, and some other things you found out, and again, no accusations, but you're now leaning very strongly towards something bad happened involving him. Is that what?
Yeah, especially because like we always had a hunch that he was possibly like not letting her talk to us or see us. And one of the things that confused us is because he kept telling us like, oh yeah, like I kept telling her like, oh yeah, the kids need to know both grandparents, like they need to know their grandparents and their CherylLynn side of the family too. And that he was claiming it was all CherylLynn who didn't want to be around us. But what we found out through the kids is he would even ground CherylLynn, pretty much take away her cell phone. And
He's
then
very controlling.
It was, yeah, he was. We had some of her friends who have stated that she opened up like a cleaning business between like Ride Now and working security at Harris. She had her own cleaning business with like green products, pretty much like environmentally friendly products. And she was cleaning houses. Well, we knew that at my grandma's house, she wasn't allowed to like stay very long. And sometimes she couldn't even finish the job because he would text her and be like, you had a certain amount of time and it didn't include travel time pretty much. So she had to like stop in the middle of cleaning and get home because she ran out of time. But some of her friends have even come forward and said that at one point they were cleaning She was cleaning their house, and she would even have to like take pictures of cleaning the house to show that she was cleaning the house, and take picture of the money showing that she's earning money. Um, so yeah, there was like a lot of that going on. Another update that we had is during the last conversation, or the last episode, or last podcast we did, we stated about how he claims that she had a boyfriend, or like that she cheated on him with at least one person from every job that she had, like working at Right Now, or other places that she was cheating on him, which nobody can confirm at all. Well, it's come to find out that a lot of her friends had stopped talking to her and stopped being around her because of him trying to hit on them and trying to be like have sex with them. And according to some of them, like according to my brother, some of them actually succeeded. Like he succeeded with some of them.
Some of her friends.
Yeah. So then it kind of puts a gray, like it makes you question, like, okay, is this one of those cases where they're trying to get somebody else, the other person, to admit that they're cheating so that they don't feel that bad about cheating themselves?
Right. And have you talked to those friends of hers that did have something with him?
Well, they're the ones that came forward to me. Well, I haven't. They didn't tell me. Like, only my brother told me of like one or two of his friends, like her friends that she's actually slept with. But they haven't confirmed it or anything. But they have told me that he's hit on them.
Right.
And that there's been issues with him.
You know how sometimes when this happens and then those two people get close in certain cases and they try to get rid of the other, I'm just thinking along those lines.
Yeah, no, so far all the ones that are claiming these, they're not close to him at all.
Okay.
They don't want, like, some of them have asked, like, hey, what happened to her? And this is another issue that I have, is a lot of times, and he did this to us included, like my family, anytime anybody asks, like, hey, what happened to CherylLynn? Like, what can I do to help? His automatic reaction has been, I don't know why you care, because she hated you.
Yeah.
So that, like, some of her friends since the last podcast have come forward and said, hey, like, you know, he's not very cooperating. Look, and they sent me screenshots saying, you know, I tried asking him and I tried seeing what I can do to help, pass out flyers, whatever. But it straight out said that
But it sounds like he's just trying to shut down everyone and try to make them lose interest in looking so that they don't find anything. You know, she didn't like you anyway. She didn't like you anyways. Don't worry about it. But
exactly.
I guarantee you that's not true in most of those cases. He's just trying to shut them down from finding anything.
According to my brother, which again, I have no clue if this is correct or not, one of them was one of the ones that he actually slept with. So again, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what was told. That's what my brother told him. And then another thing that has come forward since the podcast, is my brother was talking to my sister before she went missing, and they were talking about drugs that they have done, and my sister told him again, like, the same thing that I've just observed. Like, she never told me, but it's the same thing that I've observed, is like, even with drinking or smoking weed, like, she did not like being out of control. She didn't like being buzzed or anything after that. She just enough to calm her down with her anxiety, but not enough to where she's, like, her state of mind is compromised. But he is actually, my brother has said that during that conversation, it was stated that Philip himself had shoved shrooms in her mouth and covered her mouth and refused to let her open it, making her take it, pretty much. So in my brother's opinion, it would not be a far fetch for him to, like, make her do the hardcore drugs,
right,
and get her addicted on it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if he's going to do it with one, why not another, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
If he's going to do it with the mushrooms, he might do it with the coke for sure. Someone asked a question. I wanted to get to this too. I can't remember exactly. I think we talked about it a little in the past interview, but I wanted to wait till you got to that point in the story. But Kathy Pulliam asked, has Uber or Lyft had any confirmation that she had any pickups that night, that she worked at all? Where do we stand on that?
I know that they issued warrants, but the police have not indulged whether she actually had any Uber or Lyft for that night.
So, as far as we know, the police do know whether she did or not. They just haven't shared it.
I don't know if they've gotten that information back.
Okay.
But a lot of times with these cases, especially stuff that they serve warrant for, they can't exactly indulge much information with anybody, because even though we're the ones that are pushing for an investigation and saying something could go wrong,
That's really a shame, because
yeah.
his entire story kind of hangs on that, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, there was a text message. I know that they've gotten back their text messages, because we were shown some of her text messages, and it's kind of hard for us to tell whether it was her or not. But there seems to be a text message after the one he showed us about doing a line, and then she couldn't sleep, so she's gonna do some drives. And there was another one that's after that asked about, I'm on my way home, do you want any food? Like, do you want me to pick you up anything?
right, but the reason I ask is,
So
and again, no accusations, but let's say the story is correct that he made up the Uber thing and he did something. Going by what we know from other cases, that's the first thing that they do is take the phone and text as if they're the person. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but we have no way, at least on my side. The police may know more. They just, you still have to kind of be wary on how much information you divulge,
Sure.
because one, she's technically a missing person. There's no, like, even though she may still be out there on her own willingly left, they can't divulge her personal information sometimes. That's one of the things that I was told. And then not only that, but there's lots of players in the games who may not be truthful. So, as much as we want my sister back, I can't push too much envelopes on trying to get as much information as the police had. Most of the information I know is, I've done some fact checking based off of what he provided me when he was showing me that he is cooperating, like conversations and stuff. So one of those was, there was a guy who supposedly talked to my sister on Facebook August 20th, and her boyfriend Phillips sent that to me, and he goes, "Hey, look, somebody talked to her on Facebook Messenger, like, here's the clips." Well, when I asked for that information, when I messaged the guy, come to find out, after I got from beginning to end messages between Philip and this guy, as well as my sister and this guy, it was started after she went missing.
Wait.
On both sides, he was meeting them up, to include in what, bringing him in.
Wait, these messages happened after she went missing, and they're for meetups between her and another guy?
Between the three of them, for Philip and my sister to meet up with this guy.
And how long after she went missing are these supposed
August 3rd is when it started.
It's a couple of weeks, week and a half?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if those messages are correct, then a week and a half to 2 weeks later, she was still around, and he would have been lying about not knowing where she is. And I mean, that's weird. I don't even know what to make of that.
And some of the problems that I had with it as well is, my sister doesn't talk the same way he does either. So in the beginning of the messages, both between Philip and this guy, as well as CherylLynn and this guy, the guy asked my Philip if he could make contact with this person, or if the guy can make contact with CherylLynn, does she have a Facebook? And he sends her a picture of CherylLynn's Facebook, and he says, "But I do the correspondence and scheduling." And then on CherylLynn's Facebook, and this is after August, or this is in August, and it says, "My husband does all the correspondence and scheduling." So it was exactly the same wordings.
So you think it's him using her account and making it look like she's still around?
Yeah, because my sister doesn't talk like that. She would have said, "Hey, you gotta talk to my husband," which They're not
Right.
married, but I don't know if she ever referred to him as her husband.
So he's just trying to make it look like, whoa, she was around 2 weeks later. She must have just left and she's still out talking to people or something. What's the point of that?
I don't know, but that's one of the things that got me, is because he doesn't give us the full information. So just the part that he gave us, it's as if like he started contacting and was talking to this person out of nowhere about my sister, like, hey, like, you're, as if it's one of her friends, like, hey, have you seen my sis, like, have you seen my wife, like, have you talked to her? And he's like, dude, this is weird. And then when I got the full conversation, I'm like, this doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Like, so
real quick, because I try to make sure we can get to as much in the chat as we can before we move forward. Jason C asks, are there any future searches planned for volunteers? People be able to help out, anything like that planned?
Not that we know of. I mean, we don't really have like, the most that I've ever seen somebody do like searches and stuff are like usually woods and stuff. We do occasionally get, this is actually Shanda, one of her best friends, chiming in right there. But for the most part, anytime we get any like sightings, Shanda, as well as my family and a few of her friends, like, it's almost like we get out instantly, and we also report it to the police, and they put it out on the scanners to keep an eye on this. But so far it hasn't come up, and one of the things that made us very confused on this is some of the sightings that Philip has reported to us. First of all, they always correspond with a court date, usually like the day before or the day of a court date. There's a sighting of her that leads nowhere.
What do you mean? They correspond with one of his court dates?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So
he's saying he saw her, or?
No. So, for example, the first sighting that he gave us, there was a sighting somewhere near her car. And that this is a part that really confuses me, because a friend of theirs who is a tow truck driver had seen her around the area of her car. So, first off, my mom has worked with tow truck companies for like since before I was even in high school. And she has built up a rapport with them, and they all know who she is, and she works with dispatch. So sometimes when they get a call about a vehicle that's not in their jurisdiction, they call other ones. So they all know who she is. They all have the missing person flyers and to contact her if she's ever spotted. But yet a tow truck driver who drives in in our cities has informed his family that there was a sighting. Doesn't know what she was wearing, doesn't know where she was headed, doesn't know, just that he saw her. Just like, and that's kind of confusing, because even the sightings that people report to us right away, like, they're like, oh yeah, she was like heading towards this street, or she was heading towards this area, she was wearing these clothes. Like, usually there's more to go off of, but no, I saw her in this general area, but don't know which direction she was walking, or if she was with somebody. Like, there's no.
A tow truck driver reported this to him?
Yep, to his family.
Have you talked to that tow truck driver to make sure he did really?
Nope, because they won't give us the information.
You don't know who the driver is?
Nope.
Do you know where the sighting was?
They said around the area of her car.
Could you maybe find out, maybe there's only a few companies that would be working in that area, call each one and ask?
My mom contacted all of them.
And none of them could find this guy?
Nope, none of them have seen her. So, and then another one was, he contacted us and through Facebook Messenger, and it was a group chat with all of the, I guess, kids. So not my parents' generations, but my generations. On my mom's side of the family, we had a group chat for like holiday present exchange. Okay. And he messaged us on there, and there was a recording of this guy who has supposedly seen her at these East Charleston buildings, basically another area that was well known for drugs.
Okay.
And Shanda was really awesome. She was out there within probably about 30 minutes. And she knocked on every single door, and she gave a flyer to everybody. She even talked to the maintenance guy, and that was out there the whole day didn't see her. Nobody has seen her. A lot of them were like, I really wish that we did see her so we can tell you guys something. But he wasn't, like, they weren't able to locate her, and nobody's seen her in that area at all.
So every sighting always goes to him. Yet,
well, I had one yesterday, but nobody could find the person because it was while somebody was driving by. But we haven't heard back on whether it was a positive sighting or not. But Shanda again went out there yesterday, and she went out there and she was checking, and she didn't find anything.
Okay, but the ones that have come to him, have you ever actually confirmed that any of those actually are a person that did contact him? And he's
well, the last one that he gave us was a voice recording of a guy saying, like, "Hey, I saw her." Again, doesn't
you did hear the voice recording yourself?
The voice, yeah, he sent us the voice recording.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant you were told about it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
But he doesn't specify, like, it doesn't say share. It just says that I saw her. And there's noise in the background, and it's, I mean, we have people that are working on it, I believe, but it's a possibility that we hear, because we hear communication in the background, so I don't know if it's a TV or somebody coaching him what to say, but I mean, even the person was like, don't get the police involved. I'm not on drugs. I just live in this area, and I saw her. So to us, I mean, like, if you're not willing to tell it to the police, like, the police that are investigating this, they don't care if you're doing drugs. They don't care if you're in a drug area. Their main concern is finding her.
Yeah, especially the ones on this case, they don't care. Mm-hmm. They just want to get to her. Shanda says it sounds like the guy's being coached, I think is what she means. She says it sounds like coaching on the call.
Yeah, she's one of the ones that has heard the video.
Yeah.
Or the recording.
Darkside asks, I'm just curious, where's her phone? We've had a lot of talk about this. I think we asked you this last interview and you didn't know, right? Okay.
Yeah, we don't know because all we know is it's turned off because it's an iPhone, so finding my phone isn't working.
I thought it still did work, find my phone if it's off. I was almost sure, no?
Finding my phone, it didn't make a noise. It didn't do any, like, there's no noise, and it doesn't, I mean, I don't know if it tells you, but he says that he's tried several times with the police there, and it doesn't do anything. The text messages turn green, which means that it's not going to iPhone, it's going to, like, a regular text, which could indicate blocking or that the phone itself is not on.
Okay.
And yes, Shanda is what love is. We love Shanda. we brought
she's answering a lot of questions in the chat. I don't know if you can see the whole chat, but she's being super helpful.
I can't see the whole chat, but she's one of the ones that's been here this whole time. And she's one of the ones that he made passes at, and she's like, ew, no, get away from me.
Wow.
But yeah, she's been I've been kind of wary about bringing my sister's friends in, but I've known my sister to have talked about Shanda, and it was never anything bad. So she was one of the ones that I brought in, like, yeah, of course, come see the kids, come hang out, like, and she was brought in on pretty much our team of trying to find CherylLynn.
Okay. So we don't know anything about the phone. I'm assuming it's been pinged. Have the police divulged that? See, that's the thing in a lot of these cases with these interviews. A lot of them just end with, the police aren't revealing what they're doing. So a lot of the questions kind of hit a roadblock. I think that's the case here, right? They haven't told you if they have pinged where it last was, if they have told you where they last pinged it to or anything.
Yeah, they haven't. They haven't indulged that information.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what happens is. And I understand why, but I just mean it leads to a lot of roadblocks when you're trying to figure it out,
Yeah. And then the police have recently issued a press, kind of like a press conference, They issued it on Facebook and sent it to all the news sites. Basically that she's still missing and that they're still investigating, but they straight out said they cannot rule out foul play. So that opens up a lot more. That made it to where the news was more willing to talk to us, and Shanda was even there for a couple of for at least the two that I did. One of them, she's in the background, but again, they weren't doing live, so I don't know if it was because of COVID or what, but they did the recordings, and then one of them we had to actually have them retract because despite what the Henderson police posted about they cannot rule out foul play, one of them stated Henderson doesn't think there's foul play, which gives a completely different vibe, I guess. It kind of states that it's kind of us. We're the only ones that think there might be foul play. But if they can't rule it out, then that means that there's a possibility still.
Right. So what are the chances percentage wise? Do you think there's any chance that maybe she did just fall into really tough times and needed time away and is just trying to clean things up and protect you, kind of thing? You know, I do this is like 130th interview, something like that. So I've dealt with a lot of cases. You start to see recurring patterns in some of them. And there have been a couple where people said, like, no, there's no way that they went away and, wouldn't talk to their mother or wouldn't talk to the kids. Is there any chance she's just taking some time to herself?
See, after we went and we met with the detective on the case, Calvano, on Thursday, and afterwards my mom and I were talking, and we were looking through some of our text messages to my sister, and one of them that like really caught her eye was the fact that like exactly what we've been saying about her kids, how she would not go without seeing her kids. She was the same way with her dog. Like her dog passed away before she went missing, but like even when my mom was temporarily housing the dog because they were living with his parents, and they couldn't take the dog with them, she was texting my mom every single day, "How's my dog? How's my dog?" And she was that way with her dog and her children. So it kind of adds more character to her that she would not just leave. Like even when there was a month when she was married to Ocean and Achilles, the two oldest father, where she had to go to Texas for training. And even then she called them multiple times a day. She could not go a very long time without talking to her kids.
Okay.
Even spending the night at our house so that they can go to church activities and stuff, she would not go a day without talking to her kids.
So I know we did a version of this last time, and I'm gonna leave it up to you as to exactly how you want to proceed with this. But I always do a section as we get to around this point towards like the 45-minute, 1 hour mark, where I try to have you guys speak directly to somebody versus just listening to you talk to me. So I'm going to put you on screen by yourself. Some people choose to say a message directly, to CherylLynn if she's out there and watching, or some people, might say, no, I don't want to do that. I know she's gone. And then in that case, I ask you, maybe you want to speak to somebody who may have information but isn't coming forward. So however you would like to do it, would you like to speak
I'll do
directly?
both.
Okay. That's what I usually recommend. But okay. I kind of feel weird when people say, no, I know she's gone, to say like, speak directly to her. So I try to leave that up to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Sherilyn, if you're watching this, just know that all three of your kids are safe. They are with mom and dad. They miss you very much. They totally and completely regret picking him over you. They miss you very much and they ask for you a lot. It is so hard to see grandma and grandpa, or mom and dad and grandma and grandpa and all of our family members. They're torn apart by this and they miss you very much. I don't know if there's something been drilled in your head that we would not love you anymore if you did go on drugs, but that's not the case. We have plenty of places and plenty of people have said that they have doors open for you, ready to take you in to get clean, or anything if you need to get clean. Like, we're here for you. We love you. We miss you. And if anybody knows any information about this case and have not come forward, we do encourage you to. You don't know how this affects a family, especially her 3 children who miss her very much. You don't know how much it hurts to have a loved one and not know where she's at or what she's doing, or even if she's still alive. We have a 3-year-old who sits there and cries for her mommy all the time. We need her home and we need all the information available. If you're holding anything back out of fear of somebody else, or the fact that you don't think it's any of your business to come forward, I'm letting you know that you could make or break this situation and give these 3 kids a peace of mind, as well as her parents and her siblings. Any and all information does help. For those that do keep an eye out, we kind of wish that we would be able to tell you guys how much information you should be looking for when you report this stuff. It's always good to let us know what she was seen wearing, where she was seen at, and if at possible, it's a good idea to kind of trail that person. Because there's been several times that we've seen somebody has said, like the one yesterday, they gave us a description of the person and what she was wearing. But kind of like once you drive past it, and then depending on how long it takes for somebody to go out there, we don't know which direction or if they went in. So sometimes, I understand if you have to go to work or something, but if you're driving around and you see somebody that looks like her, even just going up and talking to them like, hey, how are you, or something, just double check to confirm, or it can kind of be helpful. It gets hard trying to check after, especially when sometimes it takes up to 2 hours afterwards to finally get to that location and then find her.
Absolutely. Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. You, as always, like before, you're an amazing advocate for your sister. Every day, I know you're right there. I always see you posting things and going strong and trying, to do everything that you can. Keep in touch with me. Let me know if there's anything I can keep doing. I mean, I don't care if we do 10, 15 episodes, as long as there's some new information you need to get out. I'll keep doing them. I have no problem if you feel it's helping. You never have to worry about that. You can always ask me to do that.
Yeah, it's just taken like 6 months just to get that small amount of updates. But most of them, again, they're just little things that rub us the wrong way. So.
Right.
My Shanda.
Yeah. When you watch this back, I think some devices, some people say, hey, I can't see the chat. So I don't know why that happens sometimes, but on most devices, you can see the chat when you watch it back. Because right now, I think you're just seeing the ones I choose to highlight. But there's a whole thing. So Shanda's been saying a lot and responding to things and stuff. So.
Yeah. And then before I forget, there was another thing that drove us kind of nuts is after the posting, another thing that went weird was anytime anybody, because I mentioned that she worked very close with BACA, Bikers Against Child Abuse, that she was really close to the bikers and they called her Stitch because she sewed everything. And basically any type of scenario that draws away from him, he was like, oh yeah, totally, they would totally do that. So one of them was, is it possible that bikers could have taken her and trafficked her? And he goes, oh yeah, totally, they would completely do that. And so like anything that turned against him, he like said yes. And I'm like, there's a completely different atmosphere. Like I've hanging out with my sister, especially when she worked at Leather headquarters, I got to hang out with a lot of the bikers and a lot of people that worked at Leather headquarters. And there's a completely different atmosphere for bikers in Nevada than what's portrayed on like Sons of Anarchy and stuff like that. So, I mean, they're still not people that you want to mess with, but it kind of opens him up more that like it looks very suspicious that he like, I don't know, like for me, I'm like close to my sister and I love my sister, but not enough to like completely call out like, oh yeah, this person absolutely did something. Like even though I don't like the guy, there's still a possibility that he didn't do anything. Like he, I don't think he's a nice guy. I wouldn't want him around me or my family, but I can't go all in on yes, definitely, they would definitely do something. And then to clarify, one of the questions we got last time was, does he have a record? He does have a record with attempted murder and use of a deadly weapon is what it came down to. I knew that he went to jail. The story that he told, or at least that my sister told me that he told her, was that on a previous relationship, they were arguing and fighting. not my sister and the guy, but his previous girlfriend. They were arguing, and she didn't want to argue, angry, so she got in her car and left, and he wasn't done arguing, so he got in his car and followed her. And she feared for her life, so she called 911, and he accidentally hit her car with his car.
So was the car the deadly weapon? Because I was going to ask you, what's the deadly weapon? Okay.
I guess, yeah. And that's a story that my sister told me in the beginning of the relationship, and I'm like, that's a red flag. Like, I don't know about that. Like, did he ever take anger management? She goes, oh yeah, he did all that, but she said that the girl came back and said that he never did it, that she was just mad at him, and so she said that he did it, but that she later told his family that he didn't do it. And then the one that the story that the kids told us was that they were both driving in a car, and he was in the passenger seat and the girlfriend was in the driver's seat, and she was driving all erratic, and he tried to correct it by grabbing the steering wheel, and they crashed. So it was his fault. So again, it's another two-story thing. I was able to look into the notes on that, and there was a temporary placement order against him before the incident where he was charged with attempted murder and use of a deadly weapon.
So him hitting her car with his and him grabbing the wheel are two different versions of the same story, not two different stories? Okay. So
they're two different versions of the story. And then neither one of them, like the fact that they were arguing and him being in the same car, according to the notes in the minutes inside the court case, it stated like they had it retracted from the record, but it was mentioned that she had a restraining order on him at the time that the incident took place.
Okay.
So it kind of builds to his character, like the more that there's a possibility that he might have done something. So it's almost like our gut feeling that he might have done something it doesn't make it look good. But again, there's always a possibility that, something else might have happened. But now,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm guessing it's probably might be too late now, but, and I might have asked you this in the last interview. I'm sorry. I don't remember every single question, but where her car was found, did you ever go around to the houses in that area and see if they had any like door cams or anything to see who dropped that car off?
We did have some people that drove by and passing out flyers, and I believe Lisa from Be United has gone up there as well as that's where
right. Yes. She was here last night.
Channel 5. That's where we shot from Channel 5, and we didn't see any Ring cameras at all either.
Okay.
Yeah, we went on Channel 5 News, and that's the location that they chose was where her car was found.
All right, yeah, I remember. Yeah, Lisa. I actually came in last night when we had the technical issues. I saw her in here, and she hadn't been in a while, so I was like, "Oh, Lisa." So that makes sense.
Yeah, we've been trying to keep her updated, and she went out and looked at the possible sighting that we got yesterday too. One of the things that I've been checking also is his Facebook friends are private, but I do have some friends that are in common with him. So sometimes when I get a sighting, just to document it, I straight out ask some of them like, hey, is this a mutual friend of your guys's? When I see that person's friends with somebody else.
Okay.
So that one didn't have a mutual friend with him. So it seems somewhat legit. It's just she also had more tattoos than what we know of on this person. So she said that there was a chest tattoo, which my sister does have a chest tattoo that goes all the way up around. So it's like an anatomical heart with some floral and leaves that go on the back. And then on her upper right shoulder blade, there's a kind of messed up rose where her boyfriend at the time, not Philip, but Ocean, Achilles' father, he was trying to be a tattoo artist, and he didn't do so well on her.
Practicing.
Yeah.
And
then to answer Brianna's question, yes, he did go to prison for attempted murder and use of a deadly weapon. I believe it was about 6 years or so worth of jail time.
Okay, and that was the incident we were just talking about with the two
Yes.
stories. Okay, so that should be a public file.
It is public record.
What's the official story? Is it the one where he hit her car with his, or the one where he grabbed the wheel? Which one's in the official jail stuff?
I'm not sure, because by the time that I was indulging into like all the different minutes and stuff, they were adding more charges for the mistreatment of the children. And so anytime that they add more cases, I guess in our system, it like the system online or whatever, it takes off previous stuff. So all of it goes down when they add more charges, even though it's like a different case.
Okay. But either way, I mean, assuming one of those stories is true, they're both don't look too good. Let's put it that way. So it doesn't matter which one's true in the long run. They're both show a certain type of behavior, no matter.
And then something that also struck us a little bit weird is so he's adopted. Philip is adopted. His adopted mother.
Is this him? Is this Philip, by the way?
That is Philip.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that's my dad behind him.
Okay.
So one of the things that struck us kind of wrong is when I got in contact with his adoptive sisters. So there is a question of whether the original police report for filing her missing was him or one of his sisters. He claimed that he was the one that tried reporting her missing, but that they don't like, it's not a crime for an adult to go missing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the sisters are claiming that they're the ones that when he said, oh yeah, she left me, they're like, okay, something's not right. And then when they saw my post with my phone number on it, they called me and they were crying and they told me, I know he did something, is what they said. So his own adoptive sisters were telling us that he did something.
Really?
That their gut was telling us that he did something.
Wow. Can you explain this route that we have here? Because this has been coming up a lot. Do you want to go over that real quick?
So Cascade Apartments is the house thing that's like visible. The first destination.
Which Cascade?
Well, that's Cascade
right
Apartments
here. Okay.
down there. And then this was just one of the maps that we pulled up. If I remember correctly, one of them may be from Lisa, because she was checking the route from Cascade Apartments all the way through to Fiesta Way in Las Vegas. So Henderson is Cascade Apartments, and then all the way in Las Vegas, there's Fiesta Way, which is where her car was found. So Cascade Apartments is where she went missing from. And then Fiesta Way is where her car was found. And at first, when I looked through the vehicle, it looked like there was a key shoved in there in the ignition, and the car was still on. But they tried to get it out, and it's not a key. It looks like somebody was jamming stuff in there to either try and drive the car or make it so nobody could drive the car. We're kind of unsure of what, but the cops did actually end up searching it, and there wasn't much to begin with. Like, I provided them the video because when I went through the car, I videoed it from entering the gates of the tow yard all the way till the end to show that we didn't mess with anything. I was wearing gloves. So we didn't need to rule out any fingerprints or anything. They said there's a couple fingerprints in there, but I don't think they indulged who they were or not.
Okay. One thing I wanted to ask, this slipped my mind earlier when we were talking, is and his Be United guys, make sure to check them out. They're a great group. Their links for their website and their Facebook are in the description below. But Jessica, earlier when you had talked about she had a little GoPro camera, I think that's how you worded it. And she didn't have it the night she went missing when she allegedly was doing Uber and Lyft. How uncommon was it? Did she have it every other time that she went out on Uber, or did she commonly forget it? Or
he claims she had it every time.
Every time except for the time she went missing.
Mm-hmm. That's why it seems off, is like if it's something that she's in a habit of doing, And if she was going to drive, then why didn't she grab the camera?
See, it's things like that I always stick on to. Things that there's one set way in place for years how somebody does things. Then the day they went missing is the one time it changed. Those are always the things my mind goes right to. So that's, to me, that's a big point. What a coincidence.
And a lot of her cards were still in the apartment.
A lot of her what?
Cards. Like, for example, Ocean was giving a old debit card that's not in play anymore. It's not active anymore. And her unemployment card as well. And then the children have stated that he has her child support card. So some of those cards that are normally in her wallet were not, or were at home.
And that's another thing. She would have always had those cards on her, right?
She didn't have multiple wallets where she kept certain ones. She usually had all of the cards in the same place.
Okay. What was in the car when there was not much in there? I think you said, but
There
was anything?
there was some receipts. There was a car seat, not like a full car seat, like for the toddler, but it was like a booster seat thing in there. But I mean, like for the most part, her car was pretty clean. Like there wasn't much in there besides like a bunch of receipts and a car seat. Like there wasn't even any drinks or I think there was a registration. I don't think I saw an insurance in there. So there wasn't much in there. So it's not like anybody trashed it or anything like that. It was just a bunch of random receipts.
Okay.
And then in the back of, like in the trunk, there was a, I think a necklace or a hair comb thing, like a decorative comb that you put in your hair.
Okay. And do you know that to be hers, or are you not sure?
I mean, she normally didn't wear that girly stuff, but I mean, she could have. Okay. Normally she was put her hair back or have her hair just down. So she normally didn't accessorize very much besides her rings, which for most of the people that know her, she always wore rings, like a whole bunch of rings. She had rings on every single finger pretty much. Those rings were at the apartment. Ocean had them. Like Ocean kept them.
So she would have had like no rings the time
she would have no rings on.
And that was another thing that was never happening.
Yeah, it's not normal. I don't know if it was because of driving or because it was summer, but I've never seen her without rings on.
Do you have access to those rings?
She gave them to my mom. So
did you ever, for the heck of it, think about getting them tested for any blood, or maybe they were taken off afterwards if she would have always been wearing them as some kind of memento? Or I mean, I'm just throwing things out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything that we end up having of hers, we let the detective know, and they tell us whether they think they need them or not.
I'm just thinking if she would have always had them on her, always, and now he has them. When were they taken off?
Yeah, anything that we're given that we don't know and they haven't said, yeah, we'll need it, we just put in a Ziploc bag. So it's like, okay, like it doesn't, if there is something, it's not contaminated. It's not being touched multiple times.
And you said the key was kind of jammed in the ignition. Darkside's asking about the details on that.
I thought it was a key jammed in it, but my parents went and looked last week, and it doesn't look like it's a key. It looks like it's just maybe like paper clips or something that it's something else metal that's not the key.
Oh, okay, so somebody was definitely trying to stop it from being started then. Okay.
Yeah.
That's worse than a key being jammed. Okay. Huh. Is there anything else we haven't thought of that particularly updates from the last interview that you want to make sure gets out there?
I don't think so. That's kind of where we're at. It's just we have a lot of things that just don't add up. But not much to go off of. Another thing, hot-wired. I mean, possibly. I always thought hot-wired was with wires down below the steering wheel, but
yeah, I think it was. That's why I didn't think of it, but that's a good point. Maybe someone was trying to get it started with that.
Although there has been some people that I've known that they have trouble with their ignition and somehow they use a screwdriver.
Yeah, Tracy Fulgaire says end of a screwdriver.
Yeah, so that's a possibility.
So maybe it could have been someone trying to start it versus stopping it from being started.
Possible. Well, it was on. The car was on, like when we jumped it, so that we could get inside the trunk to pull the lever to open the trunk up. The car was on. So it died on.
Okay. Wow. Okay. What were you gonna say? I'm sorry. I think I cut you off.
Oh, some of it's just that a lot of these details, again, it's just it just doesn't add up, and we just don't know what to do with all the information. It's kind of there. Oh, another thing was I guess whenever they had anybody visiting or anybody that came over, because it's come forward that a lot of people have said that he was dealing drugs.
Philip.
That he was dealing drugs. It's unclear if it was anything more than weed. I do know some people who have said that he was dealing weed. And so whenever they had anybody come over, whether it was for their relationship or for their open relationship or for him dealing drugs or whatever, the kids have stated they all had to be upstairs in Ocean's room. The night that she went missing, all the kids had to be in Ocean's room.
Do you think because of a deal going on, or you think because of what happened to your sister? What do you mean?
The kids don't know.
So they were forced to be up in Ocean's room.
Yep, because usually any company or whatever was down in Achilles' room, which is on the bottom of the apartment, the bottom floor of the apartment, and Ocean's bedroom was upstairs.
How long? I mean, I know kids don't have a great sense of time, but do they know how long they were forced to stay up there?
No, they had to sleep in her room. So the kids slept in Ocean's room.
Okay. So they were just all forced to go up and sleep there at night. Okay.
So there's a possibility somebody could have come over. There was a it opens it up for a lot more.
Okay.
And yep, I agree. Very odd. That's the thing is we've even tried through one of the things that Lisa suggested for us to do is we went to go talk to a private detective, and they straight up told us that, even this, there's not much they can do. All of this is just it doesn't sound good. But one of the things they told us, because I guess one of the things that he was saying was a possibility is that she would be on drugs turning tricks, that Philip said. That she'd be prostituting herself or sleeping around or whatever. The detective straight out said the only problem with that is nowadays you need a phone to turn tricks. So even the private investigators are there's not much I can go off of. It's been July. The fact that he didn't tell us because he thought that she would have contacted us or whatever, even leaving with the kids without telling us. And we didn't find out till over a month later. It just doesn't look good. So, and we spoke to them, I think, shortly after we had the podcast too. We were talking to a private detective, a private investigator, and he said, with the cold, there's no, because of how much time has come past. We even talked last time on the podcast about how there's no video surveillance around that time in the places near her because they've all been recorded over because of how long it's been since we found out.
That's what I was thinking when I thought of the car. By now, everything would be gone.
Yeah. So the fact that there's literally nothing for them to go off of, they just advise that we write down all the information that we have and we send it to the private investigators. And we even got a attorney friend involved, and he went down to the precinct and said, no, I want to see everything on this case. And they're like, this needs to be a priority. He goes, the evidence that are in this file, it just doesn't add up. This, he says, this isn't a missing persons case. This is something happened and she's either being held somewhere or something.
Right. Oh, I wish I just keep going back to the camera. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have deleted something if it was on there.
I mean, he
But
sent me pictures from the camera. Like, he sent me one picture of her from the camera, but there's no timestamp or anything, and it's he says that it was like old. But
I would try to get that camera, give it to some kind of data specialist, see if something's been deleted. I mean, again,
yeah,
we're not accusing, but you want to check every avenue, right?
yeah, that's a lot of what we're doing is pretty much checking boxes, and so far most of the boxes we checked they go nowhere. It was a little bit easier when we were allowed to have contact with him, and he was sending us stuff showing how he's cooperating, because then I could fact check it. But he stopped doing that, so I don't have anything to go off of and fact check. So basically, it's just me putting the word out over and over again.
I don't know. I keep going back to the things that were different on that night, and the camera. That's why I say check that, because she would have always had the camera.
She would have already had the camera. She would have had her rings.
Her
She would have
rings.
had her debit cards.
I would get them tested, because do you imagine? Can you imagine the scenario I'm saying? If she's always wearing her rings, and now that she's not,
now if something happened, then
then they
might be
remove
some
them
sort
as
of
like
evidence.
blood. I don't know, whatever else could be on there. I would definitely get that looked at. I mean, I know it kind of might sound like grasping at straws, but at some point you kind of are at the grasping at straws end of certain avenues. So it's just give it a shot. Dark Side says he keeps going back to the car. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people asking about fingerprints. You said there were fingerprints in the car, but the police
they said that there was a couple fingerprints, but they haven't told us who the fingerprints are, or if they have anything to match it to.
Or DNA.
Or DNA. I don't know. I think they swabbed it and stuff, but all I know is that they went and they checked out the car. And I believe there was a warrant search for his car, and that was returned to him. So I don't know if there was anything in there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Shanda's, that's true. She says fingerprints won't make much of a difference since they live together, unless it was someone else. Who knows? Uber customer or whatever.
Or to see who, if somebody else was driving the vehicle and keeping it moving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of things you could look for. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions, guys? We're going to start winding down a little, but I want to make sure if you guys have any things you want to ask, that we get them out. And also for you, I want to make sure you get everything out, Jessica. That is important, of course, but you did say that you think that was pretty much the majority.
Yeah, that was majority of it. Like I said, there hasn't been much going off of, because it doesn't help that we had such a late start, and a lot of that had to do with this was one of the clarifications I wanted to say is somebody and yes, I did say that she was trying to leave him. She contacted my sister, or my sister contacted my mom and said that, and asked if they could go and stay with them. But then she called back and said that if she left him, then Philip threatened to take Layla out of state and she'll never see her again. So she'll make it work. But then the night of, they asked who they wanted to go with. So.
And then the kid said him, but then we found out it's because he said, "Do you want to be homeless and destitute with your mom, or live a great life with me?" So that means nothing that they chose him in that scenario. Yeah. Kathy says, did they check out the apartment for a crime or blood? Have they been in there?
They have checked out the apartment, but by the time they actually started doing warrants, I don't know if they've, because they basically cleaned out the apartment before they, Philip and them, they left. So there wasn't much left in there. And then, but by the time they started even searching the car and stuff for fingerprints, they might have already had tenants, but I don't think they could go back after all that time.
Okay. All right.
But one of the things that I wanted to share is there was somebody who was questioning my side of it, because of the fact that I stated that Philip and I were not friends at the time of the disappearance of my sister on Facebook, but yet there was some post between me and him for me wishing him happy birthday and all that stuff. So just to clarify, is he used to push us away, and he used to block us and then unblock us and stuff like that throughout the time that he's been with my sister. So basically, like, there wasn't, it's kind of like he's one of those people that likes to hold grudges too. He's told me, because there was an incident where CPS was involved with the oldest child, and I found a bruise on the oldest child, but CPS had already talked to her when she was 8. And so the CPS agent talked to her on Friday, and I saw the bruise on Sunday. And so my parents had an intervention with my sister. And basically the gist of that is, hey, he's new to being a parent. He's not used to being a parent. And this was before we found out about his time in jail. But we said, there's parenting classes, there's anger management classes and stuff like that. And so we were like, we just want to make sure they're going back into a safe house. And CPS allowed them to choose who gets to talk to, like, who gets interviewed on their behalf. And we were not one of the ones selected. But ever since then, he said, well, I'm a Sicilian and Sicilians never forgive. And so he kind of kept us at arm's length. So for the most part, he let us be friends on Facebook, and he was posting like all these posts of like, look at how great of a dad I am. Like, I'm teaching Ocean to draw, and I'm, taking interest in the things that she finds interesting, like anime, and Achilles with his technology and gaming coding and stuff like that. Like, he was teaching him how to do game coding on the computers and stuff. And like, he would post this stuff. And that was our way of seeing the kids, because we were not allowed to have the kids ever since then. And so the only way to be still connected is we kind of had to be nice to him. And, so we would say happy birthday. And, for all we knew, he was being a better dad to them. Like, he was being a better dad figure because he was taking interest in. But what we found weird is, because you don't get notified when people block you. But around the time of the disappearance, he blocked me.
Right around
and
then.
around that same time, my sister's Facebook was deleted.
How, really?
Like, around the time we found out, her Facebook was deleted.
That's weird. Obviously by him.
Yeah.
Right?
We don't know. It hasn't been in, like, we don't have any information on whether the police were able to check or get any information from Facebook of where it was last opened up or logged in at.
Unless her friends had her password, it would have had to be someone that was at a residence where she would usually log into it, so they could just turn on the computer. Boom, they're already logged in. You know what I mean? Wait, no, I think. Well, no, I think when you go to erase it, you need to know the password to manually enter it again. So yeah, it would have been someone that knew it.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, when I log in on mine, it's automatically saved. Like, my laptop knows for my Facebook.
No, but if you went into settings and tried to delete it, I think it would still have you
believe so.
Manually re-enter it again, even,
So that's the reason why there was a lot of Facebook things. And like, I didn't know him personally very well. Like I said, he kept us kind of at a distance. He maybe showed up to, I think, 1 or 2 of our family dinners. Otherwise, he didn't come. He would either allow only CherylLynn and the 2 oldest, or there was like 1 or 2 times that he allowed the 3-year-old to go.
Okay.
So by the time we got Layla, I met Layla once. My mom met her twice.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. In her 3-year-old life. So my husband met her twice, because he ended up seeing them at a grocery store before my sister went missing. So like I said, he was very controlling and stuff, and I didn't want it to, like, I wasn't sure if it was just us, and because he still thinks to this day that we called CPS, but CPS was involved before I even saw the kid, because I guess the bruise happened on, like, the incident happened on Tuesday, which she told a friend who told his dad, who told the teacher, and the teacher called CPS. And then she talked to CPS on Friday, and then I found it on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Shanda said he for sure managed her social media. Because my thing is
Yeah,
for
with how
me,
controlling he was, like Marissa
there's
says.
no way that he would have not controlled everything.
Mhm.
I mean, like you see on movies and videos and and TV shows and stuff, like when girls are cheating and they have to like sneak their phone. Well, that's what it was to just talk to us.
Right,
Is
right.
she had to sneak her phone just to talk to her family. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to say like why did they call CPS? There was a bruise found. I guess when she went to school on Wednesday, when she was 8, she got punished on Tuesday with a brutal spanking, and by Wednesday she couldn't sit down. And so one of her friends noticed, and she told her friend that it's because she was caught playing while cleaning her room, and so she got a spanking, and then he told his dad, and his dad told the teacher, and the teacher called CPS.
I mean, I try not to get involved and tell people how to raise their own kids, but a spanking so bad that they can't sit sounds pretty.
The next day.
Yeah.
And the weird part of that is I was supposed to have the kids on Tuesday, but he said, no, it's okay, I got them. So I was supposed to have them that day.
Did they share a car? Pardo has asked, did he drive or have
they
a car?
have 2 different cars.
They had 2, so she had hers, he had his own.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I don't know if they ever like drove separate vehicles or not, or swapped it. But she was the only one on the registration and the title. Okay. Besides the lien holder, but.
Okay.
And that was another thing is when he gave us the title, like the description of the vehicle, it was a completely different year and a completely different model. Because I think it was like a Ford. He was trying to tell us it was like a 04 or something like that, and it ended up being a newer one, like a 2012 instead of like a 04.
Why do you think you think it was just a genuine mistake or to delay?
At first, I thought it was just he doesn't know vehicles.
Right.
Because I mean, like he's not on the car, so there's
I'm not good with that, to be honest. I could.
Yeah.
I've messed up the year of my own car. I'm like, I think it's an 03 or an 05. Like I don't know, but
yeah, but that's usually my go-to because my dad's a mechanic, and so my sister, my brother, and I, like for the most part, like we can kind of give a general idea of what it is. But I mean, even if you don't, like most people are like, oh yeah, so and so drives a Ford Focus or a Ford Fiesta, or they at least know the model because it's written on the car.
Right.
So
Tracy's saying, please find me on Facebook so I can look for some metadata for you. She's talking about finding things that may have been deleted and stuff. Tracy, I mean, if you would like to look for her, Jessica, that's fine. But Tracy, also, if you go in the description under the video, Jessica's profile is there. So you could contact her that way. I always put it down there.
And I'm totally okay with adding you.
And if I remember correctly, you don't have an actual page for Jessica, like for CherylLynn, a Facebook page, right?
I don't. I mean, I can create a group, but I just.
That's what I mean. Yeah, some people make groups and stuff. So like half the people I talk to have them, half don't. I just always offer, if you want me to put the link there, if you make it, I'll put it in the.
Yeah, I can make one. It's just we're still learning because nothing ever prepares you for this stuff. Like you don't know what to do. So like a lot of stuff is kind of like whatever we do, we find online or we find out from Be United or even from you, like of where to go. Cause sometimes we don't even think about it. Like there's so many things that I'm like, oh, I wonder if I've ever tried this. Like, I mean, my mom and I call my sister's phone like every single day.
But no, I would say it's worth doing that. It just, it just helps keep the name there because it's just hundreds, if not thousands of people a day that even if they don't join the group, they're scrolling past and seeing the name of the group. So Cheryl Beardall, it's just getting in people's minds over and over again. It just helps keep her at the forefront. I would say it's worth doing it. It literally takes you 5 minutes to make the little group. throw on maybe 20 pictures of her, whatever you have. And it's like a 10, 15-minute process. And then just friend request a bunch of people, take maybe 10, 15 minutes. It doesn't take long, and it can be helpful. People start joining, and it just spreads. You know, I would recommend doing that. And if you do it, it's not something that you have to do. Like I would say, probably half the people I talk to have a group, half don't. So it's your own choice. But if you do it, make sure you send me the link, and I can put it on both videos in the description, both interviews.
Okay. Yeah, another issue we've had is at the time she was doing going for a realtor's license, and she noticed that her name is spelled wrong on her driver's license, and she didn't want to get it fixed. She was like, well, I don't want to like wait all day at the DMV and then get it changed and stuff like that. But they spelled her name wrong, which is why I think all the news reports and everything else has it as Cheryl, and then Lynn is her middle name. Because that's the way that she had it on her driver's license.
Yeah, it's a unique name. I've written it like 20 times, and I think I still have no idea if I'm spelling it right half the time.
Yeah, it's Cheryllyn.
Ah, dang it! I got the Y.
Yeah,
okay.
That's okay because that's what's on her driver's license, so that's what most people are going with. Another issue is with everything that we've been doing and going through, like when we were like checking a whole bunch of boxes at the same time. My aunt was nice enough to make us a flyer. And we thought we checked everything thoroughly, but she accidentally put 5'9" when she's 5'6". So I think you said that earlier. The news report.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the news report has her as 5'9". I'm like, no, she's not 5'9". She's 5'6", and that would be on her driver's license is 5'6".
Yeah, that's important. That's a pretty big difference.
That's a big difference. I'm 5'9". She's 5'6". So,
right.
But yeah, that's one of the things, and it's like, you know, we try and proofread as much as we can, but at the same but it's always one thing that gets slipped. But yeah, so those are two of the things: is her name is spelt wrong on her driver's license, and then on one of the flyers, her height's wrong.
So I ask everybody, if you know anything, if you've seen anyone you think might be her, if you know a friend of a friend, whatever, no information is too small, guys. Please come forward. Contact Jessica. All you got to do is come to one of these interviews. Her link to her profile is the first or second link on both of them. It's right there. You can always contact me as well. However, I always contact the family or the police first. Don't just contact me, because if I don't get it, especially if it's like a time-sensitive message, it just doesn't make sense to only send it to me, although feel free to send it to me. But contact Jessica, anyone of the family, police, anything like that. If you know anything, don't assume she already knows something. Don't assume it's not big enough or important enough, anything like that. Please come forward with what you know. You never know what's going to be the little piece of the puzzle to crack the case. Do you have the phone number in the name of the police station that's handling this? If anyone wants,
yeah, it's on the blue flyer that you have.
Okay, give me 1 second, and I'll read it.
But I do suggest doing the police because, if that out possible, because they're more trained in it and they know specifically the specific things to ask for in the sightings.
Okay.
Not to mention there's they can put it out on the scanners and stuff to where whoever's closest in that area can get there a lot faster than we can.
Okay. Yeah. A friend of mine, I don't think she was a Henderson. She's a good friend of mine. I don't think she was a Henderson police officer. She lived in Henderson. I think she was a Las Vegas police officer, but I was just thinking, I wonder if I could contact her and see if she would know if there's any talk about it. I'm sure they're pretty close, the two departments.
Because of where certain incidences have taken place, like I said, there's an open mistreatment of the children against Philip. So there's some Metro cases, which is Las Vegas, and there's some Henderson. So they're all corresponding. Okay. And for example, yesterday's possible sighting, it was in the Las Vegas area, so I had to go through Metro for them to look it up, for them to take a look, because Henderson can't go out to Vegas and Vegas can't go out to Henderson. So they kind of work together-ish that way. Okay, well, that's good. I can always contact her and see if she has any friends or anything that have heard anything, and see if I can get any extra little info for you guys. Who knows? But if you're driving or something and not watching, I do have the information on screen. But if you're not watching the video, if you do know any information, you want to contact Henderson, Nevada Police.
702-267-4913. And it's case number 2015781.
Yeah.
All right, Jessica, I do have to start winding down now.
No problem. I got to go back to church. So.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
You did absolutely amazing. As before, you're always an amazing advocate and representative for your sister. So everybody is saying, bring Cher home and everything like that. Thank you guys.
I got my tears out before the podcast. So.
For sure. We know it's you've been dealing with it so long that you're just like, you're an expert.
Yeah.
You used to just kind of putting emotions to the side and powering through it, which unfortunately is what you have to do to get any answers in these kind of cases.
Yeah.
Thank you also to Shanda for helping. It's very it might not seem it, guys, but it's very hard to talk to the guest and look at the chat, pull up questions from the chat, and answer questions in the chat while not looking like people will comment once in a while. It looks like the host is kind of getting distracted. That's me typing to the chat and stuff, guys. So it's kind of hard. You have to do like 5 things at once. So I appreciate when somebody like Shanda is in the chat and helping answer questions. Plus, obviously, she knows a lot more than I do.
Well, yeah, I try to coordinate, especially with it would have been helpful to have her there too, because for the first one, because she knows what's going on, and she's been really close to the family. In fact, I think there was one of the pictures where CherylLynn was holding a baby. I don't know if I gave you that one, but Shanda actually took it. So.
Oh, the young boy, or do you mean like an infant baby?
I think it was infant baby. I don't think I gave it to you then. It's like a black and white photo.
Okay, yeah, I don't think I have that one.
Yeah.
I do have that one, of course.
Yeah, she didn't take that one, but
okay.
Yeah, she's been a part of CherylLynn's life for a long time, and so that's like I said, she's been since my sisters talked about her before, and it was never anything bad. I was like, yep, I know who she is. I don't know her, but I know who she is, and she's obviously somebody that my sister trusted, which means a lot because my sister doesn't trust a lot of people, especially girls,
right?
Because they tend to
Women
get
have
catty.
that thing, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the fact that she's always spoke highly of her, and then I vaguely remember, I think I've met her a couple times, and then so she's been in on our inner group and helping us because we figured if what he says is true and that she did do drugs or whatever, and she doesn't feel comfortable with our family on that factor, she would definitely feel comfortable with Shanda. Because Shanda's
been great in this chat. She's answered a lot. She's been very helpful. You'll see it when you watch. I'm sure you'll watch the episode back and everything. And I recommend doing it if for no reason other than just to watch.
I watch it a couple times a week just to see did I miss anything?
Yeah. And also too, I try to say this to everybody I interview, but a lot of times I forget, and I'm sure you know this, but there's the chat, which whenever you watch a video back, you'll see the same chat replay because it's live, but then there's also the comments at the bottom, which constantly accumulate. So you always want to, I recommend to anyone I interview twice a week, or depending on how good the video is doing, how many views it gets, once or twice a week, check below the video and see, because people often ask questions in the comments, and sometimes it's like, I don't want to respond because either I don't know the answer, or it's weird if someone's like, hey, Jessica, what happened here? And then I jump in here's what happened. It looks like it should be you answering. So I never really know what to say. So a lot of the questions go in.
Yeah, that's one of the things is he got to a lot of the comments before I did.
Mm-hmm.
So last time he was commenting on them pretty quick, and that's where some of the discrepancies was, because that's when they were like, oh, is it possible the bikers could have done it? And he's like, yes, totally. They would totally do something like that. And I'm like, and then he ended up getting threats by them.
Oh, really? Because of the comments? Well,
he claims there was threats by the bikers. That
a lot of stuff goes through him, huh? And it never seems to be verified. But.
Yeah, so I guess he said that he tried reporting to the Henderson police that he was getting threats that if she wasn't seen by Christmas, he wouldn't see the new year. But when I talked to the detective, he goes, "That's news to me. He never told me. He never said anything." And I was like, "Well, that's who he said it to." So,
wow.
Possibility he might have gotten those threats, but he saw the new year.
Who knows? From now, if I was him, I would start showing proof of sightings and claims like that and stuff like that. But what do I know? That's just my suggestion if he's out there. And again, we're not accusing of anything, but this is just just one of those things where somebody's missing. You are the closest person. Some things don't seem right. But again, we're not, there are no hard accusations to you. Everything's alleged. You have a right to come forward, say your side, your piece. And I'm sure Jessica and the family, want you to do that. We want to know your take on everything. And just so you know, Jessica, this would only be with your approval, but I would have no problem like talking to or interviewing him. I don't know if you'd be for or against that. I would never do it without your approval. But if you did want him to come on and tell his side, I'd be willing to do that. Or if you didn't, then I would never do it. I'm always loyal to whoever I talk to. But just so you know.
That one I just have to contact because of the treatment case,
okay.
We're not allowed to have contact.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
got the chair sideways and I'm on my tailbone.
The sooner we get the facts straightened out, the sooner we are that much closer to finding her. So like I said, there's always we never want to zoom in on one possibility because then we could totally miss something that may lead to where she's at. It's just, there's a lot of things that's just not making sense.
Absolutely. And please keep in touch with me. Let me know if anything comes from this second interview. If you get any questions or any tips, any new information, just keep in touch with me. If we need to do any updates, just let me know. We can always do another one. And just let me know.
We're just hoping it's I found her update.
Yeah, exactly. That would be the best. And I know, you're kind of leaning towards certain ways and saying she would never do that with the kids. And I'm sure that's true, but believe it or not, there's been at least a few I've done where they said that never, ever, there's no way possible they would do that. And it ends up being that that's what happened. They were just going through some things, needed some time alone. So I'm hoping that's what happened because that means she's okay, of course. We pray for some kind of positive outcome. There's never 100% positive outcome. There's always a lot of healing to be done, even if they come back and are safe, of course, because, a lot of feelings and a lot of relationships have been altered and stuff because of it. But I do pray that, she's safe and there is some explanation for her having to leave for a period of time. But no matter what it is, let's get to the bottom of it. Help bring CherylLynn home, guys. And if you know anything, please come forward and talk to Jessica. You were amazing tonight, Jessica. Thank you so much. And just keep in touch with me and let me know if you get any messages. I'll let you know if anybody messages me, specific people, but anyone in general, if they come forward and say something that they heard or whatever. And I will talk to my friend to see if there's anything else floating around there.
Okay. Thank you. All
right. Thank you so much. Have a great night and bring CherylLynn home. Let's get to the bottom of it. Thank you so much, sweetheart. You did a great job.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. That was a great episode. She always does a great job when I talk to her. I've talked to her a few times on Messenger and stuff as well. So very, very caring sister, just doing what she can for her family. She does a great job, and she's always fighting for her sister and doing what she can. Again, to Philip or anybody else who was named, I know it can be unpleasant to hear your name tossed around by people and not really have a chance to be in the conversation and such. Again, there are no hard accusations made toward you, brother. We're just piecing together what we know, talking about rumors, theories, everything's alleged, stuff like that. So nobody is saying that he's definitely involved. So please don't leave with that impression. We're just leaving every option open is all it is. Thank you to everybody we got to about 90 something people. So this was a good turnout, which I'm happy with because this isn't our typical time slot. So I don't think a lot of people even knew that we were doing this show because of what happened last night. So thank you to everybody who did join. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you would like to support the channel in any other ways, there are links in the description to do so. So thank you to anybody who would like to support the channel that way. PayPal, Patreon, all those kind of things. So we appreciate you guys. And thank you to everybody who did donate throughout the show. I did thank everyone in the chat who did. We got a couple super chats and PayPals and stuff like that. So as always, thank you to everybody. And that's it. We will have another interview coming to you guys tomorrow night at 9 p.m. So make sure to 9 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure to join us then and have a great night. I love you all. Thank you for watching Jason Ebert Live. Take care. And bring CherylLynn home.